For those of you that are interested in gardening, maybe for the first time or maybe trying some vegetables earlier in the year, green leafy vegetables are some that you can try and you can get them started before that first frost-free day of the year. Spinach and kale are some of the most popular greens. You can also start some lettuce mixes, and then there are several other vegetables you can start earlier in the year as well. And if you have the opportunity to grow in a high tunnel or some kind of a covered structure, you can push that envelope on the temperatures because the soil will warm up even before that. These tend to be plants that take a lot of nitrogen to grow them because nitrogen produces leaf and stem tissue growth. So nitrogen fertilizer in the soil is really important, and you get that if you mix in some type of a manure, and oftentimes you'll get a good source of it with compost that you've mixed into your garden soil. Since we're approaching the summer months now, this spinach has had enough heat on it that the flowers are beginning to bolt on it and the leaves are gotten rather large. We'd like to harvest them when the leaves are a little bit smaller. They're a little more tender that way, and the flavor on them is not quite as strong. The thing about these vegetables is they do really well in our cool temperatures at the beginning of our season. They begin to taper off and struggle in the heat of summer, and then there's something that you can replant in the fall and enjoy a second crop of them at the end of the season. For the University of Wyoming Extension, you're watching From the Ground Up, and this is Donna Quinn.
Here in Wyoming, we love rhubarb plants, if for no other reason because they'll grow for us. This is a great rhubarb plant, 3 or 4 years old, and today it's ready to harvest. So you can harvest in 2 different ways. We can just take a pair of scissors, a good sturdy pair. We can come down and get real low in the plant and cut it off. Or even easier, we can just pull them. So when we pull them, we are going to want to cut the leaf off. The leaves are great in a compost pile or incorporated in the soil somewhere. We certainly don't eat the leaves ourselves, and we don't feed them to animals. The leaves can sometimes be high in toxins. Rhubarb is a great treat in pies, cakes, different desserts and drinks. So we take this in the house, we can wash it up a little bit and cut it into whatever size we want to. The best way to get a rhubarb plant started in our yard is to take a cutting from the roots. So what we'll do is we'll dig down and take out a good big cutting of that big white root. We take it home, we get it started in our garden. We'll want to give it extra water, and we won't want to cut it for the first year. But boy, after that, you can just about treat rhubarb like a weed and it'll grow. The one thing to remember is we don't eat rhubarb after the first hard frost. This is Hudson Hill, University of Wyoming Extension. You're watching From the Ground Up.
Here I've grown some cabbage for the family. Now this is an example of organic cabbage. You can see some insect has eaten a little bit, small portion, but the rest of it is healthy. The color is nice. And you can see I've mulched at the base so that there is sufficient nutrition for it as it goes along. Vermicompost at the bottom, followed by a light layer of mulch. Because we had very dry patch here for last few days, and the soil is totally dry. We need to retain the whatever moisture is there. And you can see quite clearly there is not much of insect attack. It's all right. Everything is healthy. This one is very well made and well formed. This is also a nice cabbage, ready for harvest actually. So there is no insect attack, there is no disease, and there is no pesticide also has been used on this, neither any synthetic fertilizers. You can see it's a solid cabbage, very healthy.
There's really nothing better than fresh produce grown at home in the backyard garden. But you want to make sure that you harvest your vegetables properly and at the right time. So with beans and peas, you want to go out on a daily basis after you notice that the plants are blooming, because those pods will be forming shortly after. And you'll know when they're ready to harvest when the pods are long and full, they're not short and flat. Leafy greens are great plants to grow in the garden for their nutritional value, but they're also really easy to grow and very easy to harvest. You want to get yourself a good pair of scissors or pruners and just come out and harvest what you'll eat in a short amount of time. Leave the rest in the garden to come back and harvest later. Your broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, these are all plants that will form a head on them. And of course you want to get the largest head possible, but especially with broccoli, you don't want to wait too long. If you wait too long, the plants will blossom and you've lost that produce. When you harvest your tomatoes, they should be bright red. Of course, they can ripen on the shelf or in a windowsill if you pick them a little early. But when you harvest them to lengthen their shelf life, you want to harvest the tomato with the stem attached, and that will help the tomato keep longer. If you get an early freeze and your plants are still full of green tomatoes, if you dig it up, hang it upside down, and those tomatoes will ripen right there on the plant. For more information about food preservation, nutrition, food safety, you can check out the Extension website. This is Chris Hilgert, University of Wyoming Extension, from the ground up.
In Wyoming, if you want to grow your own food, sometimes you have to get a little creative on how to do that through the winter months. But if you have window boxes, they're a great planter to put things in your home windows through the winter. You can use almost any container that you have as long as it has good drainage. All we need to really do is to, once you've got the potting soil in your containers, is to just spread the seeds throughout your soil. Planting things in the house basically is just the same as growing things outdoors. You have to have the right temperature, you have to have water available for the plants or the seeds to germinate and the plants to grow, and then you have to have plenty of sunlight for those plants to keep growing once they've germinated. So someplace in a nice sunny, usually south or west window, is a great place to put your plants. So indoor gardening is a great way to enjoy some vegetables that you've grown yourself, and also to enjoy your gardening habit through the winter months. If you have kids in the family, you can include kids in this, and then they will understand how the plants have grown and probably be more interested in eating maybe some unusual vegetables that the family hasn't tried before. It also improves those winter blues that we have to deal with here in Wyoming. This has been Donna Quinn for the University of Wyoming Extension. You're watching From the Ground Up. Just a few weeks ago, we planted these veggies in these window boxes so that we could have some winter gardening experience. And now we have a nice mix of a variety of different lettuces and some other leafy vegetables to choose from. And now we have the opportunity to put together a salad for some of those flavors that we haven't tried before. When you're harvesting, you probably want to harvest some of the youngest leafy parts of the plant. But if you are braver or really like a stronger flavor in your salad, you could go ahead and harvest some of the older leaves as well, and that'll give you a much stronger flavor in your salads. You can enjoy quite a variety of different flavors in salads, much different than what we experience from the grocery store with just iceberg lettuce. So once you have your vegetables picked, you can put them in a colander and take them on into the kitchen to wash them up. If you're looking for any recipes, you could look for our local foods guides at any of the extension offices across the state of Wyoming. And you could also ask any questions you might have about nutrition and food safety. This has been Donna Quinn for the University of Wyoming Extension. You're watching From the Ground Up.
Hello everybody, this is Ronnie from Urban Food Farms again, and today I wanted to share with you how I made a hydroponic garden patch. It was hard work to dig and transport all the bricks and the 50-pound bags of gravel, which I used 6 of them, but the whole thing is actually simple to make. It's just dig, lay the bricks, put the gravel. Then basically I just threw those cocoa bricks in there, and there you go. It's a hydroponic garden patch for less than 300 bucks. And so a lot of people are asking me about the cocoa, so I also wanted to show here how it is that it expands. And basically there's 4 bricks on one side and 5 bricks on the other, and here you can see exactly how much water it can absorb, and it's really an amazing thing. You can see that there's no runoff pretty much, and that it keeps on absorbing a tremendous amount of water. And basically each brick, like you saw them dry, when they're expanded, they're about 8 or 9 times the size that it was before. Look at that. And you can even see the water going down and being absorbed. And here I'm breaking up the cocoa, which is what you're supposed to do once it's expanded. Just break it up a little bit, and I'm also lifting it up to show you that there's no hole on the bottom or anything, that I'm not cheating about the water absorption, and it didn't finish absorbing. And here's how it looks when the whole thing's expanded. Well, there's a couple bricks that are not, but here in this one, it's all the cocoa has been hydrated, and it's nice and fluffy and airy, beautiful. And here we have that I started planting right away. I had some trays that Yossi sent me. Here's the tray, and you can see on the side how the little plugs come. And then I just plugged everything in. And then I added some seeds as well in the empty spaces. I have some radishes and stuff. And including the trip to Home Depot, the whole thing took me about a day.